life. America's most talked about program. New Liquid Prell, the extra rich liquid shampoo that leaves your hair looking radiantly alive. Brings you This Is Your Life. Now here he is, Mr. This Is Your Life himself, Ralph Edwards.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, in the house down the block, in the apartment next door, or sitting right beside you, perhaps here at the NBC Theater in Hollywood, there could very well be a person whose life story is stranger than fiction. Now look around you. Who knows what lies behind the face? Looking at this attractive woman, for example, would you think that she has known suffering, tragedy, and even violence? Well, we'll find out right now, because tonight, Ilse Stanley of Berlin, Germany, and New York City, This Is Your Life.
I haven't done anything.
Oh, yes, you have, my dear. Come on, stand up so everybody can see you. Oh, how lovely you look. I'm told you make all your own dresses, is that right?
That's right, but I don't know what I'm saying. I haven't done anything wrong.
Well, your promising career as an actress and young theatrical producer in Germany came to an end with the rise of Hitler. Now in America, you're struggling valiantly to build a new life with the ever-present encouragement and love of your husband here, Mr. Milton Stanley. Hello, Milton. Wonderful to see you. What a lovely, lovely life. Thank you. What brings you to New York from Hollywood, Mrs. Stanley?
Well, I was invited by the Rotary Club to hold a speech.
Yes, as you sometimes do before other clubs and organizations. And you did talk at the Rotary Club yesterday,
Yes,
didn't
I
you?
did.
And they loved it. It was a
Thank you
wonder.
very much.
This was one program, though, that we arranged for the Hollywood Rotary Club.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just so we could get you out here without arousing your suspicions. Thank you for helping us make the surprise come true.
Shaking.
What's that?
My knees are shaking.
We're going to provide you with a chair of honor, just about. Did we fool you? Really, Ilsa?
I said always when I saw your program, nobody could get me to do that. Nobody could fool me into that. Look at me.
Oh, yes, but you did. Well, we think that you'll find it was well worth it, and so will you, ladies and gentlemen, in our audience, I'm sure. And now, Ilse Stanley, come with me to our stage in the chair of honor you fully deserve. Milton, we'll go together with her. And as we make our way, let's see what Bob Warren is doing with an orchid.
Why, it's simple, Ralph. Liquid Prell shampoo gives a gal radiantly alive hair, and radiantly alive hair brings the gal orchids. Look.
For me? Orchids from him, and I only met him last night. But when we danced, he said I was a girl with the stars in my hair. Oh, wonderful, wonderful Liquid Prell. Thank you for coming into my life.
Yes, new Liquid Prell does wonderful things for people. Liquid Prell is extra rich. That's why it leaves your hair looking radiantly alive. Some other shampoos are thin and watery, some too thick and sticky. They can actually dull your hair. But extra rich Liquid Prell is just right, with radiant beauty in every drop. Yes, orchids to the girl who uses extra rich Liquid Prell. She knows that's why her hair looks radiantly alive. To give your hair that radiantly alive look, try new extra rich Liquid Prell.
Thank you, Bob Warren. Well, here we are, just seated. Ever since the Mayflower, refugees from persecution from the old world have found hope in a new life on our shores. For over 300 years, they have, each in his own way, helped make America great. And this is your life. Ilse Stanley, born in Germany and now a citizen of your adopted country, the United States of America, where just 2 years after your arrival, you face a crisis as great as any human being has met. The clock in the operating room at Beth Israel Hospital in New York City is ticking off the seconds, each one an eternity between life and death. It's a day in April, 1941. Now, We're going to have you talk a little bit here. Why were you in that operating room in New York, Ilse?
I had a brain tumor.
Yes. In what way was your operation completely unusual?
Well, in the first place, Ralph, that everybody behaved as though I were the President of the United States. It was just fantastic. Everybody felt this life had to be saved. I didn't feel so very important about it. But then Dr. Gross, who was just wonderful as a surgeon to me, came and said if I could go through it without anesthesia, it would be much easier for him. I don't know, he explained a lot of things which I forgot and didn't understand at that time probably. But I did. It was a good odds because he said, this way, chances were very small, this way it was 50-50. Good gamble.
So fully awake?
Yeah.
You were ready to face the pain?
I've done worse.
Yeah, you've done worse. Well, now, the operation is performed, and as you say, it would be better without anesthesia, your chances for survival. How could you possibly stand this, Ilse, during those 3.5 hours?
You have always a way of rationalizing, I guess. I had seen very much in Germany, and people die, and I figured just kicking myself a little bit in the teeth while I was lying there and complaining I had pain, that after all they wanted to do was making me healthy again. And I had seen very many heads beaten in just for killing them, so I should be happy that they just did everything to make me healthy, so I stopped kicking and just took it very gratefully.
And that almost superhuman courage of yours must have sprung from the deep wells of your experiences in the tragic years of Hitler's persecution of the Jews in Germany. But your homeland was not always a scene of violence. There was another Germany once filled with laughter and with happy songs, with devotion to family, to emperor, and to God. These are the memories of your childhood, of a little girl, Ilse Davidson, raised in the light of one of Berlin's most beautiful temples, the Fasanenstrasse Temple. Your house, as you always called it, where your father was leader of the largest congregation in all Germany. Now, your mother died in 1954, didn't she, Ilse?
Yes.
And your father, Ilse?
My father's in London. He's still singing. Wonderfully, too.
And you haven't seen him in 16 years. But in your childhood, he was a constant inspiration to you in your spiritual
We were
life.
very close.
He had a beautiful voice, didn't he, Ilse?
The best in the world.
As a child, you thrilled to it and to the voices of the temple choir.
Oh, yes, that was a little town where I was born. There was a choir.
I was a boy soprano in this choir. And Ilse, I was very much in love with you.
Oh, no.
I believe you were then 3 years old, and I must have been 8.
A voice out of your childhood, Ilse Stanley.
14,000 miles away.
You haven't heard in 20 years from this man. Who is it?
Dr. Erich Zimmerauer?
You lost track of him in the Nazi tumult of the 30s. At one time, you assumed him to be dead with so many others of your
That's right.
friends. He actually was in a concentration camp. But he's here, Ilse, all the way from Tanganyika territory in Africa, the dearest friend of your childhood, now an important physician and author of the book Rainer Maria Rilke, Legend and Myth. Dr. Erich Zimmerauer. Here is Erich.
My God, 14,000 miles
Come over here. How did you show your love for little Ilse when you two were children, Dr. Zimmerauer?
Well, I remember one thing. When Ilse was 6, their parents moved to Berlin from Gleiwitz. And then I gave her a pair of scissors.
I still have them.
No. And I told her, Ilse, as long as these scissors are bright and shining, so will my love last for you.
They're still shining, Eric.
You say you still have the scissors. Are these the scissors, Ilse?
How did you get them?
Oh, we just wanted to show them here to be sure you'd give that you'd get your wish, and to show Eric here that they're as bright and shining as they were that day so many years ago. Here you are. When did you next see Ilse after that, Dr. Zimmerauer?
Well, when Ilse was 16, I believe, in Berlin, and you had already set your heart on a theatrical career. You were working very hard. And, well, then came your first recital.
Yes.
That's
And
right.
I believe I was the very first person to get a ticket, wasn't I?
That's true.
And he probably sent you flowers. I think he sent you flowers.
He did.
Yes.
I still
yes,
have
I
it. The red rose.
No, you can't.
And after that, Dr. Zimmerauer?
Well, I got married. Then Hitler came to power. I lost my position and went with my wife first to Cyprus and then to East Africa.
Thank you, Dr. Eric Zimmerauer, for making the long trip to Hollywood to take your place in Ilsa's life. See you later. You make your first theatrical appearance at 3 in Gleiwitz. No, you're not the little girl with the white veil. You're the spike-helmeted soldier there in that picture, sort of a child image of Kaiser Wilhelm II. You saw the Kaiser as a little girl, didn't you, Ilse?
Yes.
It was in this temple, your house.
When it was consecrated.
Yes, that's right. He came to dedicate...
A marriage hall that he had given to the Jews of Germany, and he came to look over the temple, and my father took me over.
Yes. That's where you were confirmed, and it's here that you give your first public reading. What did you recite at that occasion, Ilse?
At my first public reading, 23rd Psalm.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Many times in later years, when death surrounded you, you were comforted by the words of that psalm. But here in the Germany of the 20s, there was no thought of persecution and death. There was only young ambition and high hope for the future.
Ilse had high hopes and ambition for a great career in the theater, and her talents were equal to her drama, I think.
Now, is that a voice you know, Ilse?
Yes, I know the voice, but...
One of Hollywood's truly great directors, 30 years ago, he encouraged you when you worked for him in Berlin in the motion picture classic Metropolis. He's recently completed While the City Sleeps, just previewed successfully here and in New York, and has flown here from New York to take his place in your life, Mr. Fritz Lang. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Ilse. Well, now, was Metropolis the first picture in which Ilse worked for you, Mr. Lang?
I think it was the first one. You were working at the...
Frau im Mond.
Yeah, but you were working at
This
the Reinhardt in the theater school in Berlin, and I used young people in my pictures, and I saw you, and I was attracted by you, by your gifts, and then I talked to you, and I found out you were quite intelligent. And so I gave you some parts in my picture, I remember.
At 19, you had already started a theater of your own in Berlin, hadn't you, Ilse?
Yes.
And you worked in movies to help finance that project.
Yes, at Extra.
Yes. Success for you seemed just around the corner. What interrupted Ilse's promising career, Mr. Lang?
She married a young concert violinist, Alexander Intrator, and then giving birth to a son in 1932. She got paralysis of her right hip and the leg.
Well, did this stop her?
Oh, just only temporarily. She was fighting very valiantly and desperately to regain her health and status in the theater, and then Hitler came. And then he started not only the professional crisis in her life, but also the mental crisis and the spiritual. Huh?
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Fritz
sir.
Lang, a true friend. For you, Ilse Stanley, Hitler's Reich and the New Order meant the end of your career. But you cling to your faith and determined to do everything in your power to help your people. And you did it, as you've often said, with love, not hate. Now, we'll relive some of these chapters in your life in just a moment, okay? But first, Bob Warren has something to show you.
Yes, here's something that catches the eye. It really does catch the eye, doesn't it? But how does a girl go about getting one? Well, I can't guarantee the ring, but here's how to catch the eye of a man, and perhaps the ring as well. Use new extra-rich liquid Prell shampoo to make your hair glow with beauty, gleam with loveliness. New liquid Prell is extra-rich. That's why it leaves your hair looking radiantly alive. Well, you'll find liquid Prell is completely different from all other shampoos. You know, some shampoos are thin and watery, others thick and cloudy. They can actually dull your hair. But you can see liquid Prell is not too thin, not too thick, but just right. with radiant beauty in every drop. Yes, it's extra rich. That's why it leaves your hair looking radiantly alive. Look, it works like a charm. Shouldn't you try new extra rich liquid Prell right away?
Thank you, Bob Warren. And now back to This Is Your Life, Ilse Stanley of Berlin, Germany, and now of New York City. As the dictator's flag flies high over Berlin in 1935, a pall has fallen over the Jewish communities everywhere. Fear grips the hearts of the people, testing the faith of even the most devout. Still limping and with the aid of a cane, what did you do to bolster the waning faith of your people, Ilsa?
Give recital evenings, went all over the country to talk to people. It was the only thing I could do at that time.
Your message of hope ever restores smiles to wan and drawn faces.
Yes.
But as persecution spreads and the concentration camps fill to overflowing, you feel that you have to do more than talk.
Ilse saved 412 families from concentration camps and certain extermination.
Well, do you know who that is?
Yes.
I think you do. A well-known opera coach in New York City whose singing studies were supervised by Enrico Caruso. Here's your good friend, Madame Hermance de la Bourdette. Here is Madame de la Bourdette. Oh, my, and she's supposed to be in New York and all. How did Ilse go about obtaining freedom for so many of her people, Madame de la Bourdette?
She had a very high-ranking Nazi official as her ally who delivered her all the necessary papers to free those people out of concentration camp. So she went into the camps and took the people out. And this would have been her doom if any suspicion would have gone on her. Yes. She would have been arrested and executed immediately.
Now, how did you come to know this high Nazi official, Ilse?
This is really fabulous, and it shows that my really deep belief that you always get compensation for what you're doing. Never know when, but you do get it. And when I was a kid, practically, at my first contract in a Berlin theater, there was a theater cup. And his mother and kid sister came from a little town to celebrate birthday. So he knew that I knew the producer. He asked me if I could get him some tickets for nothing. Well, I bought a box and I invited the whole family later to the Hotel Eden, across the street for dinner, and I had much more fun than they had, believe me. And this was all. That was all. And then years later, a distant cousin came from a small town. They had put her husband into concentration camp, and she was, understandably so, very bitter and hateful, and I fought her on that. To her, whole Germany was one bunch of murderers. To me, one group of murderers ruled Germany. And the people had to go along. That was such a deep cleft, Ralph, that I said, all right, we go to the Gestapo, Leitstelle, Alexanderplatz. That is, I think I can that in this case mention, that is hell itself. And if we don't get help there, then I know we are lost. And I will leave Germany as quickly as possible. But if I find that my belief in the basic kindness of people will be redeemed in that hell, then you will say that you are wrong. The trial by fire. And when we came into the Gestapo Leitstelle, a man stopped us, and I never looked up. We had learned from people who came back from concentration camp, if you look up into their eyes, they are getting mad. You don't look up into high officials' eyes. So I thought, I'm not going to aggravate anybody. I want my man out of concentration camp. And we looked down, and he pulled me at the jacket and said, come around the corner. And there I looked the first time, and he said, don't you know me? And I said, I wouldn't dare knowing anybody. And he said, well, look at me. I said, I wouldn't do that. And he said, well, please, is your name Ilse Davis, which was my stage name? I say, no, Davis died in 33. He said, well, is your name Ilse? And then I looked up, and I thought I was in the Hotel Eden, and there was Fritz, his real name was Hans, and he just said, "Hello, Ilse." And it was just too much to believe that from that moment on, Ralph, I never doubted the basic kindness of
It was the same
people
man,
like
the
you.
same policeman?
It was my theater cup, and he had said to me, "For that wonderful evening, you have an account in my heart. If I ever can do anything for you, I'll do it." So I said, "Will you give me a life for a good evening?" And that started the whole thing.
Small act of kindness that really paid off. And we understand that you kept many people in your apartment.
She would be too.
And your mother and father went on
You see it.
to England, that's right. They didn't know you were carrying on the underground work.
No, nobody. Sure.
And then you left to save the life of your 6-year-old son. You flee to England, and your husband, because of quota problems, cannot go with you. That is, to America, finally. And so, with only $4 in your purse, you and Manfred, your little boy, sailed for America and freedom. Thank you so much, Madame de la Bourdette. Another unsung American heroine. Thank you. As Europe is engulfed by war, your separation from your husband lengthens to 7 years and ends in a mutually agreed upon divorce. For you, Ilsa, a stranger in a strange land, not knowing the language, work is hard to find, and adjustment is not easy. Now, you had brought some clothing with you, so that was not an immediate problem, except to your young son, Manfred.
I had 2 suits, one with short pants worn by all German boys, and a Sunday suit with long pants.
You know that voice? Yes, indeed.
Sure.
Your son, with him, his lovely wife. Here they are from New York City, Manfred and Maxine in Trotter. Here's Manfred and Maxine. Well, we've just heard, Manfred, how Madame de la Bourdette kept all the people that Ilse was saving, many of them in her apartment, freed them that way. Then you came over to America. What problem did your German suits create for you, Manfred?
I had a pair of short pants which my mother wanted me to wear to school, and I didn't want to because all the other fellows were wearing long pants. So I hid the long pants in the fire stairs, remember, and the garbage dump, and before I went to school, I would change them. And then before I came home, I'd change them back again.
Your mother didn't know anything about all this?
Well, not until the day that someone made off with my long pants and I had no pants for Sunday.
Were you angry, Ilse?
Well, I tried to show that I was angry. Of course, I couldn't be very well. I realized that it was my fault that I wasn't adjusted to America, and I had embarrassed him.
I don't think you could be angry for long at anybody.
Well, I tried to show, but I am not really.
You were afraid to meet Ilse, your future mother-in-law, weren't you, Maxine?
Oh, I was. We were very young when we got married, and I thought she'd disapprove, but all she said, "Oh, you'll be very happy," and what can I do?
You yourself, Ilse, have found new happiness in marriage to Milton Stanley, a New York actor, and here he is again, your husband. Sit here beside your wife, Milton, will you? Conspirator, you with us on this, because now you two are joined.
He would never have a secret for me.
Oh, my. Well, love and understanding has certainly joined you, though the road for Ilse has not been an easy one.
No, it hasn't.
Even here in America, has it?
It's quite true. She's never really thought about her own problems. She worries too much about others. As a matter of fact, during the time she went to the hospital with a brain operation, she made out a will, last will and testament. And she wanted me and my brother to take care of Manfred just in case.
And then, during the middle of the operation, what happened?
That was very cute. So she sent a nurse out to make sure that I was all right. She didn't want me to worry too much.
Here she was doing it completely.
Yes, it's typical.
My, Ilse's fight against the oppressors in Germany didn't stop after she came to America, did it?
No, that's quite true. She wrote, produced, and directed an anti-Nazi German language radio series for the government.
Selling the American way to the misguided of your homeland, Ilse Stanley. And since then, you've written and produced 187 dramatic shows on radio. You've tried your hand at interior decorating. You've written a book that was published in England. Many things. It's a busy life. This is your life. As your thoughts go back, you must see the temple where your father worshipped with his congregation. Now an empty shell set to the torch in the purge of 1938. Saddened, your mind must take you back to happier days, too. Childhood days, when astride your father's broad shoulders and holding on to his thumbs, you'd ride up the stairs to your bedroom shouting, "Sing, Papa, sing!"
Und läuft den Weg gleich als ein
It's your father's voice. You haven't heard it in 16 years. He's here from London, England, in answer to your dearest prayers. Today is his 78th birthday, and what a present for both of you, the Reverend Magnus Davidson. Here he is. 16 years ago, you said goodbye to your father in England, Ilsa, not sure that you'd ever see him again. Well, now you're going to have a lot to talk about, much to relive together. We're going to leave you for a moment to your joy and your love, to your memories of the past and the happiness of the present. When we return, we'll look into the future together. Meanwhile, here's Bob Warren for Hazel Bishop.
Yes, ladies, Hazel Bishop has done it again. After bringing you the first long-lasting, the first once-a-day lipstick, Hazel Bishop now brings you the first once-a-day face powder, and Hazel Bishop calls it compact makeup because it contains its own long-lasting makeup base and comes to you at no extra cost in this stunning, spill-proof mirrored compact.
And take it from me, girls, Hazel Bishop Compact Makeup is the only face powder that you can smooth on just once a day and be sure that you look your very best from morning till night, and without constant touch-ups. And what's more, Hazel Bishop Once a Day Compact Makeup is the only face powder that comes in different formulas for dry skin, normal skin, and oily skin.
So, ladies, stop powdering your face a dozen times a day. Instead, change to the new Hazel Bishop Compact Makeup that stays on all day, stays fresh all day. That's Hazel Bishop Compact Makeup.
Thanks. What? Too much. My, what a reunion. 78th birthday and all together. Well,
too much happiness.
It is a dream. It is a miracle. It is wonderful. I see my daughter and I see my family. It is wonderful. I thank you very, very much.
Well, we thank you. The world thanks people like you, sir. And this happy reunion with your father, your family, and your friends will be continued right after the show, Ilsa, at a party Prell has arranged in your honor at the beautiful Knickerbocker Hotel here in Hollywood, where all your out-of-town guests have been staying. And you can take the memories of this night with you on a 16mm sound film, which Prell has for you, together with this 16mm Bell & Howell sound projector to show it on. The many events of your life, Ilsa, are represented by the charms on this bracelet, especially made for you by Marshall Jewelers of Fifth Avenue, New York.
Thank you very much.
We know that you'll do everything in your power to make your father's visit here a happy one, that you'll want him to see as much as possible of this great country of ours with us as mine, and for the useful pleasure you and Milton will derive from it always, Prell wants you to accept these keys to your own brand new 1956 Mercury from Coal Finder, Chicago's leading Mercury dealers. There you are. And here's a check from Prell to help take care of the expenses you'll have in entertaining your father during his stay with you and Milton in America.
May I say quickly something? Do you have a second?
Just 1 second.
I want to say I was so blue and low 3 weeks ago, and I never thought it could happen to me, and everybody who listens in should never despair because they never know when something can happen.
God bless you for that.
Thank you, Ralph.
This is your life, and now I'm a part of it. Thank you. There you are.
Our guests fly into Hollywood by TWA, Trans World Airlines, who now fly the newest and most luxurious airplane in the skies. Fly the finest. Fly TWA Super G Constellation. This Is Your Life was brought to you by new Liquid Prell, the liquid shampoo that's extra rich for that glorious, radiantly alive look.